As I was saying, a stocking was tied to my door handle where I was living in Carmarthen Hospital between 1998 and 1999, and the stocking was also tied to the door handles of all the females who were sharing the same landing as myself. I accidentally said in the last video that a stocking was tied to the females. Obviously I meant to their door handles, the door handles of their rooms, that is to say. Also, please do look at this here, where it says, woman was stabbed 18 times during hijab trial, and outrage at lack of media coverage fuels protest. So there's a media involvement there where they don't really want to speak about it, and there's total denial here from Barnsley Hospital. I have recorded the conversation where they tell me that this is not my case. Well, how many times have you done this? What kind of a legacy does the Foundation Trust, Barnsley Hospital NHS Foundation Trust, uphold? They've already admitted that they do this, and it's clearly linked to this lady, Marwa El-Sherbini, and to myself, Miss Mubbina Hashmi. This is a confidential piece of information, and this is the media, this is the Guardian newspaper, copied and pasted into the newspaper. That's a leak of highly confidential information from my medical notes, finding their way into the Guardian newspaper. The media in Germany refuse to give coverage to this lady's case, and the reason seems to be that it's linked to mine. That could be one reason. So that is quite shocking, I think. And yes, it is proven. This is substantiated evidence. This is not, how shall I put it, speculative information. This is information that we can actually check out for ourselves if we choose to. So, going back to Mr. Graham Saville Edwards. Mr. Edwards, you haven't commented upon this at all, and I find that worrying. You were resident in Austria. You are resident, I don't know where you live currently, but this should have shocked you when you found that a third Muslim female, with all my details, was also being hounded or had been murdered. How on earth did that happen? I have a history of being pushed physically and bullied and barred by another tutor who was an employee at Barnsley Hospital. I know that the senior members were covering each other up, and this is just evidence that they still refuse to speak about it. I mean, this lady is Egyptian, right? And the Egyptian man who didn't want me to work in pharmacy, and his wife, they both have one son, by the way, and Marwa has one son. They didn't want me to pursue my career in pharmacy, and I found out, and this is an opinion because you don't know whether somebody said this, but I'm telling you, I was the recipient of information that the Egyptian cleric's wife did not wish for me or my sister, who is still a pharmacist or has been a pharmacist also. She didn't wish for us to pursue our careers in pharmacy. Right, now a lady with her details and mine, she is Egyptian, her husband is Egyptian, and they have one son. She is stabbed to death, Marwa is stabbed to death. That again is an uncanny resemblance. These are salient, defining points in my case, the Egyptian cleric and his wife, and they match with Marwa's details. The Egyptian cleric and his wife have been very keen to infer that I am an Islamist whore who was pursuing her husband. I've defended myself by asserting and trying to make people really realize that Mr. Egyptian cleric has a history of pursuing women, although he's married. He recruits females. I managed to get away, as did my sister, without taking allegiance. But a group of his disciples reside here in Bristol, where I live, and they would know about his activities and what he gets up to. My parents have refused for me to ever travel with him overseas, or they even don't like me visiting his disciples here on a regular basis. I mean, I can attend sometimes, but I'm going back now some 15, 16, 17 years ago, when I used to occasionally attend their gatherings on a weekly basis. We're talking like 6 or 7 gatherings in a year that my mother wouldn't mind me attending. She didn't allow for me to go every week, and she really didn't encourage it. So I was very limited to the contact I had. They, on the other hand, slept over in his house. I visited him quite often in Cambridge, even though it's difficult to get there. Ran his courses up and down the country, and travelled and stayed with him overseas in various countries. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and maybe Syria as well, I'm not sure. But they have made multiple journeys, and so would have the opportunity to have a closer physical contact with him as well. And I know that Mr. Egyptian Cleric does approach women sexually. He does have a reputation, and he did try to speak to me inappropriately over the phone, although he's tried to say it was the other way around, and it's him who has the history of doing this. And the amazing thing is, Islamist whore, that doesn't seem to be suitable for this lady and the context. So it would seem to me that Mr. Egyptian Cleric was trying to get at me and try and bring that side of things into Marwa's murder as well. Now, for a barrister such as Mr. Graham Sedley Edwards to overlook the bullying and pushing of myself by the tutor, the German tutor pharmacist, who didn't like me and didn't want me to continue and develop myself as a pharmacist in Barnsley Hospital, for him to ignore that, and then for this lady to be stabbed in Germany, and for him to live next door to Austria, is really very revealing. And if I'm allowed to use the expression prima facie in legal jargon means that my case and Marwa's case, our cases, have overwhelmingly already met the prima facie criteria, which means that these cannot be a string of coincidences, and an investigation is long overdue. If we were to do a probability calculation, that's for those of you, for anyone who is a statistician, if I can say that word, has a speciality in statistics, a branch of mathematics that deals with probability, that is the likelihood of an event taking place, then it can actually be scientifically and factually proven that these cannot be coincidental. On the top of it, it looks as though this is highly organised, and it really is very convincing as well. So to say that I am paranoid and am hallucinating when I say, look, 32-year-old pharmacist, Egyptian man there, 32-year-old pharmacist, Egyptian, headscarfed, like myself, and here it's got that he was approaching me inappropriately over the phone, and then she's called an Islamist whore. It does look as though somebody has been monitoring me, and we know somebody has because we've got the hit list, which Mr. Graham Sedley Edwards has referred to himself, the regulatory machine. This is a hit list. Look, she was stabbed to death with my details. Carmarthen Hospital have an incident where the marking of myself and other females associated with myself already has taken place. The gun and the knife theme, the stabbing of the knife in the door of pediatrics, the special care baby unit ward door, is all very much in alignment with an investigation which should have taken place by now, not excluding myself, the victim, or Marwa's husband and family and friends, or even my friend in London. I hope she's okay. I fear for her. I know she's under instruction. She's not allowed to talk to me and tell me things because in the past she's been a witness, and so the Royal Society had to get rid of her. Incidentally, both her sisters have lost their jobs in the past. Both are teachers, not linked to a profession of pharmacy. And so that's how the Royal Society and the GPHC give you a message. If you speak out, they threaten you in other ways and make your family very, very insecure and very, very unsafe. I did also mention Nahid al-Mania,